Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Last year, I built my wife a 4-color deck with the partners Vile Smasher the Fierce and Kydel, Chosen of Krufix. The deck was supposed to be a Reanimator deck. You fill the graveyard with cards like Underrealm Lich and Song of Creation, or discard effects like Faithless Looting or Frantic Search. And once your graveyard has a good number of big, scary dragons in it, you cast Bladewing the Risen with a Necro Duality on board and bring them all back. The problem was, Cutestuff couldn't ever get the deck to work. Either she'd find nothing but graveyard-filling cards, or dragons. So she wound up never playing it. A few months ago, she and I were working on a Spellslinger deck video, and I asked her if she'd like her own Spellslinger deck. She'd seen me have a blast with my Spellslinger decks, and she really enjoys her Niv Mizzet Perun deck after all. So she said yes. And since today is her birthday, I figured it was the perfect time to talk about this deck. Since we already had the mana base from the previous 4-color deck, we decided to stick with those colors. After all, part of the idea of this deck came from wanting to run Witherbloom Apprentice, Ral Storm Conduit, and Professor Onyx all in the same deck. Why have one win con when you create infinite copies when you can have 3? Backups and redundancy are always nice in Commander. How does the combo work, you ask? Okay, let me explain. Each of the aforementioned cards hurts our opponents whenever we cast or copy an instant or sorcery. If there is an instant or sorcery on the stack and we copy it, then we cast another spell to copy that spell. The copies then target one another over and over again, creating an infinite but deterministic loop. But now that we have our colors and our theme, what commanders do we use? For the answer to that, we need only to turn to the biggest show of the summer. That's right, this is a deck led by 11 and Max. This is a 4-color Girl Power Spellslinger deck. Before we get too much further, I'd like to quickly ask you to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel, and it's free. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. 11 the Mage is a 4-mana 3/5 legendary human wizard. She makes it so that our maximum hand size is 11. Additionally, whenever 11 the Mage attacks, we draw a card and lose a life. Then, if we have 11 or more cards in hand, we may cast an instant or sorcery spell from our hand without paying its mana cost. 11 also has Friends Forever, which means she can be a partnered commander with any other creature that also has Friends Forever. Max the Daredevil is a 3-mana 3/2 legendary human with haste. She says whenever we cast our second spell each turn, we untap a creature and then investigate. She, like 11, has the keyword Friends Forever. The pair of these gives us access to the colors we want, as well as both card advantage and mana ramp in the command zone. The two things you want to do in a game of Commander are draw cards and ramp, so these seem like fine commanders to me. I know some people aren't very excited by them, but I felt that we'd had enough overpowered commanders recently, so having some interesting but slightly toned down legendaries in our command zone seemed like more fun to me. But just because the commanders are cheap doesn't mean our deck list is. This list clocks in at just over $1,100. Much to my chagrin, my wife is not a cheap woman. As always, before we get to our deck list, we should keep in mind our checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Reliquary Tower, Bojuka Bog for Graveyard Hate, Polluted Delta, Bloodstained Mire, Wooded Foothills, Scalding Tarn, Misty Rainforest, Verdant Catacombs, Flooded Strand, Arid Mesa, Marsh Flats, Windswept Heath, Xander's Lounge, Ziatora's Proving Ground, Zagoth Triome, Ketria Triome, Watery Grave, Blood Crypt, Stomping Ground, Steam Vents, Breeding Pool, Overgrown Tomb, Ice Tunnel, Sulphurous Mire, Highland Forest, Volatile Fjord, Rimewood Falls, Woodland Chasm, one island, one swamp, two mountains, and 2 forests. Is our mana base a little greedy? Absolutely. If that list makes you too nervous, swap out the snow duels with basics. Azusa Lost but Seeking, Wayward Swordtooth, and Dryad of the Elysian Grove all let us play extra lands per turn. Ramen-Up Excavator and Crucible of Worlds let us replay lands from the graveyard. Deathrite Shaman also lets us play with lands in graveyards, sort of. Sol Ring and Arcane Signet serve as our only mana rocks, while Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 Visits, and Skyshroud Claim let us fetch lands and put them into play. Finally, Stormkiln Artist for treasure generation. Dark Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Manamorphose, and Jeska's Will make up our rituals. Rituals are important in Spellslinger decks and Storm decks, but because they are one use only, I hesitate to call them mana ramp, and feel that they deserve their own category. Worldly Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and Mystical Tutor to let us search for whatever we need, as well as Rhystic Study, Wheel of Fortune, Windfall, Archmage Emeritus, and Teferi's Ageless Insight for card draw. We also have a few big mana spells that I'm hoping Cutestuff gets to cast with 11 in Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, and Peer into the Abyss. Narset Parter of Veils for stacks, Ashiok Dream Render, and Commit Memory for Graveyard Hate, Counterspell, Negate, and Arcane Denial for a light counter package, Abrade, Return to Nature, Beast Within, Bedevil, and Assassin's Trophy for spot removal. Cyclonic Rift, In Garrick's Wake, and Blasphemous Act for board wipes. Thousand Year Storm, Arcane Bombardment, Narset's Reversal, Expansion Explosion, Fork, Increasing Vengeance, Reverberate, and Twincast all serve to give us extra copies of spells as needed, or to go infinite with any 2 of them, except for Narset's Reversal, which can go infinite with Manamorphose, assuming we have a Thousand Year Storm on board. We're also running a Radiant Performer, which I'm hoping to one day see Cutestuff cast in response to a Return to Nature, or an Assassin's Trophy. Professor Onyx, Ral Storm Conduit, and Witherbloom Apprentice all serve as our win cons, with Chain of Smog able to trigger any of them and win us the game on the spot. But I also wanted some more big mana spells just for funsies, so we've got Reshape the Earth, Blatant Thievery, Mnemonic Deluge, Apex of Power, Fevered Suspicion, and Emergent Ultimatum. Now that we have our deck, let's compare it to our checklist. 54 mana sources split between 36 lands, 13 pieces of ramp, and 5 rituals. 14 pieces of card advantage with 2 in the command zone. 11 pieces of interaction, 3 board wipes, 3 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card in Chain of Smog. For those who don't understand the interaction, Chain of Smog lets the target player copy it over and over again. So, we simply target ourselves. If we do so with either Witherbloom Apprentice, Ral Storm Conduit, or Professor Onyx on board, we win the game. We're able to copy it over and over again as many times as it takes for the triggers to kill our opponents. Sure, we may not have any cards in hand when we're done, but we won't have any opponents either. The biggest cost in this deck is the mana base and the tutors, and the Wheel of Fortune, of course. If you cut the tutors for standard card draw, added more basic lands and cheaper dual-colored lands, you could easily cut this deck down to around $200 or $300. But where would the fun be in that? Do you have an off-the-wall Spellslinger deck? Or a deck concept you've always wanted to build? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. One of the tiers is specifically set up for Commander. For only $25, I will build you a custom Commander deck based around your specifications, and even do a deck video on it. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Jiraiya, Waffles, Muffins, Casey, Nick, Marcus, Black Dragon, Phoenix of Ice, Daniel, Kyo, Squishy, RGC, and Brett. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander deck videos often, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Also, if you're a fan of anime and manga like I am, feel free to check out my other channel, Musings by Danon. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.